Do you want to, Linda, are you going to take care of that?
Good evening. I'm Linda Gahan, President of the League of Women Voters of Pickens, of Oconee and Pickens counties. We recently changed our name to reflect the demographics of our citizenship, our citizen, and our membership. So we've been in existence for 50 years at least, and we're going strong. Anybody who wants to join us is welcome, both men and women. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that encourages citizens to be informed and actively participate in government. We also affect social policy, political policy, by education and advocacy. Tonight we have the candidates for the Pickens County Council, District 1. We want to call your attention also to a candidate guide we have that you may find more information on the candidates. This is called vote411.org. If you'll go to that website and see and put in your information, you can seek information on the candidates of the race you choose to inquire about. Remember, the voter registration deadline is tomorrow, October the 7th, if you're doing it in person at the election office. If you're doing it online, you have until October the 9th. The election is November the 8th. The Election Commission is seeking poll workers. These are citizens who are trained to facilitate the election process. So if you're interested, contact the election office. You can put in an application. They will train you. You'll earn a little bit of money, but you'll help democracy work better. So tonight we have as a moderator Elizabeth Vogt, so I'll let her proceed with the forum. Thank you for attending.
Okay. Thank you, Linda. I'm Elizabeth Vogt, and I'm going to be the moderator for tonight's County Council Forum for District 1. I'm very pleased that we're back in person after 2.5 years of pandemic. We did the last forums electronically, and I'm just glad to see everybody in person. Now, what I'd like to do is to proceed by saying we're very pleased to have Brad White and Claiborne Linville running for District 1 of Pickens County Council, and I would like to give each candidate 3 minutes to make an opening statement. When the candidate, as rules of the road, when the candidate has 30 minutes left in which to speak, our timekeeper will show a yellow flag, and then when the candidate's time is up, a red card will be displayed. So after that, all questions, we'll have a couple of questions that were formulated by the League of Women Voters. And during that time that I'm asking the League questions, that will give those of you on the floor an opportunity to write out questions and submit them to our screener. And then we'll open up the questioning to members of the audience, okay? All questions need to be answerable by both candidates and cannot be candidate specific. And each candidate will have 2 minutes in which to respond. So with that said, Mr. White, would you like to begin with a 3-minute introductory presentation?
So I grew up here. I'm a native. I always wanted to serve my country. But in 2003, after I graduated high school, I decided that I felt the need to take care of my grandmother, who lived to be 93 until her passing in January of 2009. During that time, I worked at the golf course, and I worked with a family member in the traffic engineering and transportation planning business. And then in 2012, I formed my own business. I'm still doing it today. I know the area. There's not a road in this county that I've not been down. I'm no doubt an asset to the county. I work hand in hand with the DOT and have been for, oh gosh, almost 20 years. So now I have a chance to serve not just you all, but my county as well, and to the neighboring counties too, to help make us better, because we are growing and we're not going to be able to stop growing. And I feel like my background is much needed. I've been serving the last 5 years on the county, on the city's planning commission. I served on Clemson Next. I'm also a small business owner, and I know what it feels to, try to grow a business and then go through a lot of hiccups and hurdles as a small business owner too. So, I'm a huge supportive of the mom and pop shops. So I appreciate your support. I'm going to dive into this. There's a lot more I hope to talk about traffic, about roads, about infrastructure, about how this town has been so focused on population the last 10 years to where our roads and infrastructure is in dire need of replacement and upgrading. So.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Ms. Linville?
First, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this. Y'all get to see a lot of information on social media and in quick sound bites. It's nice to have a conversation. When I first told people I was interested in this office, they would say, why county council? Or often the quick follow-up, wait, what does county council do? Which is a great question. And the reason that we don't often know that as well in Clemson is because we are a well-run city, and the cities are left to kind of run themselves. And especially in Clemson, because we're seen as real different from the rest of Pickens County, that we are often treated a little bit differently. We've got our own, we contract with the university for EMS services. We have a great Parks and Rec department. We pave some of our own roads. We get a lot done here. So you might not have interacted with your county council in the same way that you may have with your city council. But that doesn't mean that we deserve any fewer services, because we are paying county taxes and we are a part of a big, lively, and growing county. What I'd like you to keep in mind tonight is what the county does not do. I know many of you are involved citizens who want to change a lot of things, and so we need to understand what county does versus city. The county will not have any role in the city's relationship with the university. The county will most likely not have a role in whether or not another student apartment goes up in the city. Those are handled as city issues. What the county can do, though, is help with partnerships that can alleviate some of those problems that we're seeing in the city. And that's where the county really comes in, and where I hope that my vision and voice will move forward. The county can create the type of partnerships to bring cities and the universities together on big things like public transportation. The county can help take on big conversations we're having about affordable housing, about where our nurses and teachers and service workers can live if they can't work in the city. Maybe they need to be out in county land. The county can talk about litter, some of the big issues that we're having with conservation. There are so many exciting things that we could do with this county that I want the people of Clemson, once I am in office and have the vision to move this forward, I want you to no longer have a question about what county council is doing, because I want you to know how county council is helping to make your life better. I look forward to diving into more of that and why I feel qualified as we answer questions. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. And to give the audience some time to submit their questions, I'm going to begin with questions from the league, and each of you will have 2 minutes to respond. So going in rotating order, I'm going to begin with you, Ms. Linville, and with our first league-generated question, and that is, should a land use plan be adopted for the Highway 11 corridor? Please explain your answer and how that would be achieved.
This is a big question because the current county council is dealing with an overlay for the Highway 11 corridor. Even though it's been since 1997, I believe, the Cherokee Scenic Highway is designated by the U.S. government. It was left to the local government to put in the overlay and put in the rules, and we haven't. So I am pleased that this current council has taken this on as an issue. There's great plans you can find online for how they've been developing and working on this issue with public input since the fall. And right now there's a moratorium in Pickens County along Highway 11, so there's no development. We're familiar with this here in Clemson, while they figure out the best way to move forward. I am pleased with the direction that council is currently going, which looks to be a restriction on industrial development, meaning no industrial, extremely limited commercial, and limited residential development. And what they're looking at is putting stuff in along that I would completely agree with, which is some limits on the architectural look and use, a 1,000-foot setback for any development that would be along the corridor, as well as some protections of the more scenic areas. Now, thankfully, when you're on Highway 11 and you're looking at a lot of those mountaintops, that has been protected by Tommy Wykes Trust and by Upstate Forever, and a lot of good work at Kiwi Talks Way and 9 Times Preserve are thankfully keeping a lot of those views beautiful, but we want to make sure that the corridor itself is. And so I would absolutely vote and support for some of the restrictions that are going in that would help keep industrial out, keep commercial very limited. I'm talking at like farmers market and county stores, no drive-throughs, that sort of thing. And residential that are done small and will not add to the use of water or sewer beyond personal sewer systems so that we don't mess with the watershed either.
Okay, thank you very much. And Mr. White?
Yes, really, I mean, zoning is going to be a huge thing up there. You've got to, that's the only way that you can protect it. Sorry, my light here is going to turn the light off. That's the only way you're going to be able to protect it. You also got to define high density. You don't want a high density development in up there as well, like a planned development or even a medium-sized density development as well. Zoning, even a tree ordinance. I mean, the canopy is gorgeous. You know, we don't want to turn this into a pigeon forge, which could easily happen. I mean, look at what happened there. You got to protect the tree ordinance. You got the reservoirs, the streams. It should be just recreation only. Protect the hiking trails. I don't want to see any commercial component like you see in Oconee County and in Greenville. You know, this is the old Cherokee Indian path. You know, but it's not protected by the state or federal. And it should be. It's a scenic route. It should be kept scenic. So I'm against any commercial components whatsoever on Highway 11, and I support adopting the land use element for Highway 11 as well.
Okay, very good. Okay, so we'll start again with you, Mr. White. Our next question is going to be, are county recreation facilities appropriately funded? If not, what are your suggestions?
I would have to say grant money from the state. You know, you want to promote a safer environment to walk. You want to promote a healthier living lifestyles. So if they're not appropriately funded, then where's the tax money going? And you know, you can do an audit. You can audit the state. There's money out there. So let's not raise taxes. Let's look at where other funds are, and let's reappropriate those funds for recreation. Sure.
Okay.
Could you restate the question?
Are county recreation facilities appropriately funded? If not, what are your suggestions?
So my understanding, and following county council over several years, is that there were actually some significant issues with county recreation funding not that many years ago, in which some council people, it used to be that each council person was given their own amount of money to spend in their own district. And what ended up happening is that there was some fraudulent use of funds that were involved in the Performing Arts Center that's in Liberty. Thankfully, this was identified and fixed, and they've redone how council allocates recreation funding, and I am pleased with that. And one of the great ways that we saw that happen is Ainsley Feimster, who's held this office up until now, helped use recreation funds to save the pool in Central. The pool was slated for, they couldn't afford to fix it, and he was able to find the funding to fix that, as well as county recreation funds went towards some of the initial funding for the Green Crescent Trail, which we've seen here in Clemson, and it's been a great use of funds. So what I would like to continue to see building on Mr. Feimster's legacy is that those county recreation funds continue to come into Clemson. We are often left here to do our own Parks and Rec, which is great, but there are recreation facilities like the Rec Center and the Green Crescent Trail that can be expanded in Clemson. The county often thinks of us as doing our own thing, as I said, so I would like to make sure that funds are allocated, that we see the benefits of increased community recreation funding as well.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, and starting back with you, Ms. Linville, our next question is that the Pickens County Council has been considering changing from fully funded health insurance for county employees to self-funded. What criteria should be given priority in making this decision?
Wow. I would like to make it clear that I'm not running for office for the insurance, but I understand there are people who would need that benefit. And you say this is just for the people who are serving?
Well, the Pickens County Council has been considering changing from a fully funded health insurance plan for county employees to a self-funded plan.
Okay, well, let's see. I married into a faculty family in which people, my in-laws were either faculty with the university or state employees, and I was a state employee as well. And as a state employee, my health care was not fully funded. I had to pay quite a bit of it myself as a match, so it doesn't actually make sense to me that an elected official would have fully funded health care. We are just like y'all and working and have jobs where we should need to contribute as well. So I would like them to take into account that perhaps the county council members should be paying similar to city and state employees and pay the same percentage as the employees that they're representing.
Okay. Mr. White?
I agree. As a small business owner, I've had to pay my own insurance for almost 20 years, and it's consistently gone up. So, I'd be in favor of county council be paying their fair share as well. Match it. However, I don't think they should be getting some type of free insurance or even a portion of it. I think it should come out of everybody's salaries just like everybody else.
All right. Thank you very much. And at this point, do we have questions from the floor? Okay. So our first question from the audience is as follows, and we'll start with you, Mr. White. Pickens County EMS service appears to be slowing down as Clemson grows. What is your solution for that?
So far, we do about 19,000 calls. We did about 19,000 calls last year, and we need to build a bigger EMS station. There's plans in place from the COVID money to build one in Norris. We need more money for EMS, not just for just the building, but for salaries too. I'll share a story with you. In March, my mom, when she was still alive, I had to call EMS down to the house, and it took them almost 30 minutes to get there. They had to come from 6 Mile because all of the buses in Central were out on calls. If you have to take a patient to Greenville or even Anderson, you're gone for well over an hour. Actually, hour and a half, 2 hours now with traffic. Even to Seneca. So that takes the buses in Central, takes them out, so they have to come from Liberty, they have to come from 6 Mile. Those are on calls, they come from Pickens. So if we have a bigger station in Norris, there's money there. The county council has got 26 million that was given to them from COVID money. They have not appropriated any of it. There were plans at one point, I think last year, to appropriate about $575,000, $600,000 for a new EMS facility in Norris, but has not been put on the agenda. So I'll support building more EMS hubs here. I understand that the university contracts out fire to the city, but they do not contract out rescue. So at some point, you got to say, well, we have EMS for the university here, but yet if a student or a late night event where students are sick or drunk in a bar, they got to come all from 6 Mile or Central to come in, and we've got EMS right here in the backyard. So there's ways around it, but once again, county's got the money for a new EMS station. Let's get it on the agenda.
Ms. Linville?
I had a great opportunity to speak with Billy Gibson, who's the head of emergency services for the county, and I asked him about this issue as Clemson is growing because the rest of Pickens County is growing, and what can we do for EMS. And what I learned was that actually 2 new crews have been fully funded, and one of them will be assigned to the Clemson Norris area. The other one will be in Easley. These are daytime crews that will run through the busiest hours of 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. These are fully funded. They are not running right now because they do not have enough staff. Mr. Gibson cannot hire EMS workers. They are so now getting more creative. There's full programs at the Career and Technology Center in the high school to try to train new firefighters and train new EMS. He assured me that the salary he's offering is on par with other counties. The issue is there just aren't enough EMS workers. So I could sit here and try to promise that we're going to bring in a lot, but until we fix the employment issue, it doesn't matter what we build. There's nobody to go in it. So the good news is that county has heard this issue. They have funded 2 full crews as soon as we find the people. Mr. Gibson actually asked me to help say, please spread the word that we're hiring EMS workers. He did say, he did let me know, and I would fully support this, is that we need to increase our funding for new trucks. Because of, as Brad said, the 19,000 calls that they do a year, our trucks experience a lot more damage than some others. So instead of lasting 8 years, they last close to 5. So we do need to increase our maintenance and replacement on what we have so that we can continue to run. And I would support that increased placement. And hopefully we can have a conversation about a new station as employees become available.
Okay, let me just make a point that the next three questions I received all basically concern the same topic, so I'm going to try to craft this question in a new way. Is there a way to relieve traffic? Oh, I'll start with you, Ms. Linville. Is there a way to relieve traffic on 123, particularly around Fast Food Row in Clemson, where you have a number of cutouts?
Right. Yeah, you can't run for office in Clemson without having a solution for 123. Yeah, and man, I wish I could sit up here and tell you that I'm going to solve it in the next 2 years. First of all, it's important to remember that 123 is a state road. The county cannot come in and tell 123 what to do. They cannot tell the state. The state does look for advice from the city, and the city is trying to fix this as well. The main issue we have on 123, I spoke with Chief Campos in Clemson, and what he's seeing is not the gut reaction to blame the students. What he's seeing is, he did a traffic count in July that showed over 220,000 cars came through down 123 in July, and that's when the students aren't here. We are dealing with commuters are the main traffic. What happens when the students come in is that they want to go to our local businesses who have every right to get every customer that they can, and that's causing the backlog for people who are commuting. So to me, what the good news is that the county just recently funded a traffic study that's going to be looking into how the other counties funnel into Clemson, because that's where the bottlenecks really are. So we should have a traffic study available. They're doing the RFQs right now. We should have a traffic study available soon to have a little better understanding of that. I also understand that SCDOT has been saying for a while they're going to be putting a median down the middle to prevent left turns. That will help with some of the bottlenecking and with the suicide lane that's in the middle, but it is going to frustrate some of those businesses. But when I hear people coming in and saying, let's build a bypass, I think I saw that last printed at $100 million or something crazy. We can't just build a solution. So what we need to do is get more creative about reducing cars. And I would like to increase conversations about getting more buses running up from Seneca all the way to Greenville on regular schedules that adults can use, so that we're starting to pull those commuters off the road. And that is something that County Council can achieve.
And Mr. White?
Let me clarify one thing here. 123 is not a state road, that's a federal road. It goes into Georgia, so it's a federal highway. Second, you gotta be careful if you do a concrete divided median down 123, because what's that going to do to small business? There was a plan in place several years ago. The railroad did grant an easement along Restaurant Road from the Verizon parallel all the way down to the Truist Bank, or the old bank there at the signal at the Chinese restaurant, where you can funnel all the left turn traffic, make it right in, right out. All the left turn traffic takes that one-way alley street down to the signal, and then they use the signal to come out. That will prevent a lot of the traffic accidents. In 2020, I got the crash data out, and it created this moratorium. There was over 570 accidents for I think it's 0.9 miles. There's 67 curb cuts on 123 from the bridge to the main signal here at the Verizon. That's too many. That's almost like a Woodruff Road. So that's one way to do it. I'm not in favor of the concrete divided median, because how are you going to be able to redesign the U-turn to get over to the Wendy's if you're trying to turn left in there? Yes, my mom was in a bad accident there at the Wendy's in August of 16. She didn't drive ever since then. Also, the DOT, they did do a bridge inspection this past summer. It got rid of a grade 5. When it gets to a 4, there's plans in place to replace that. Where's the plans now? And we talk about how we're going to divert traffic. We're trying to replace a bridge that carries 40,000 cars a day. Another asset that I want to see, I talked to the chief about this, is real-time travel alerts. If you come from Anderson, if it's telling you can save 4 minutes by going down Perimeter Road as opposed to getting on 123, then you should be able to just hop on Perimeter Road and go to 93. I think that could potentially take 6,000 to 8,000 cars off of 123. I mean, I've been collecting traffic data since 2012 on 123, and I've seen it go up from like 28,000 to 32. Now we're at 38 and counting.
Okay, thank you very much. So our next question, we're going to start back with you, Mr. White. And our next question is, what ideas, if any, do you have for environmental action at the Clemson and county levels?
I'm sorry.
What ideas, if any, do you have for environmental action at the Clemson and county levels, city and county levels?
I guess get more grant money for stormwater. You're protecting your reservoirs and your streams. That's a good question. You just stumped me on that one.
All right,
Yeah. I don't have
okay.
anything for that.
So we'll turn to Ms. Lindell. Ms. Lindell?
I think one of the best ways to protect our environment is to also celebrate our environment. I have found that people are more willing, the people who I find picking up litter are also the people who I find out paddling. You know, so I really think the county can have a way with parks. For example, some of the blue ways we've been adding, if anyone's been up to Katichi Park, where you can access the rapids and get in there. There's a great new park at Easley that has the ability to put your kayaks right in, and you can go kayaking right off of the city of Easley for a while. And I think once you do that, people are more motivated to prevent litter and to prevent problems. I believe that adding more buses, which is something I'm very passionate about, moving forward a conversation to try to get buses going between Seneca all the way up to Greenville. You're reducing traffic and you're reducing air pollution the more you have buses, especially if we can partner with the university on the electric cat buses and try to reduce some of that problem. I'm a big supporter of conservation easements. Upstate Forever has done some amazing partnerships with the county. I'm very appreciative of the Gant Meadow that just got approved in partnership with Pickens County Council in order to protect the most photographed place in South Carolina is that meadow that looks up at Table Rock, and it's now been protected due to a partnership between the county and Upstate Forever. So I will continue to be an advocate. I think most of us live here because it is beautiful, and we need a council that takes an active role in preserving what we have. There's a Pickens Proud is a new movement that the council is doing with several organizations to improve litter and prevent litter problems. I think that's something that I'd like to see a lot more of, because we've all seen how big of a problem that has become, not just as an eyesore, but because it affects our waterways and our safety.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next question from our audience, we'll begin with you, Ms. Linville. And it is, our county does not have enough housing for lower income workers such as nurses' aides, food services, and others. What are your ideas for creating new affordable housing and maintaining existing and sometimes rundown affordable rentals?
This is a great question because I think just about every place is dealing with it. This is where my concept of talking about partnerships really come in. There are a few organizations who are trying to tackle this problem. One of them, Rebuild Upstate and the Shaw Center come to mind. We're trying to keep people who are in dilapidated homes, help fix those homes up, help generations inherit homes, help us not take over historically black neighborhoods in order to build new housing. We need to play a role in making sure that we're working with our nonprofit partners that are already doing some of the work. From my understanding, and I've been looking into this, we need a housing authority or somebody to act as a housing authority that can help screen renters, bring in the grant money and the federal money that exists for developers, make it attractive for affordable housing to be here, but also help the landlords have access to the type of renters that are approved. And you can't do that without a housing authority. However, and there is a county housing authority that's nearby, but it doesn't consider Clemson or Central as one of the areas that they serve. You can get around this if you don't have a direct housing authority by working with an organization like Clemson Community Care, who may have the ability to screen renters and to match people who are in that kind of need to the housing that they need. But what this conversation requires is some leadership on the county level of saying this is important. The city of Clemson is running out of space. There may be some places where we have affordable housing here and some developments that can work, but we also have a lot of land right outside the city, where if the county and the city and some of our local nonprofits work together, we can bring in the same kind of developers. They see that Pickens County is growing 25%. They know we have this need. We just need to have the housing authority or a related nonprofit that can help move the conversation forward and find the renters.
Mr. White.
Okay, I'm going to piggyback off of Ms. Limble's comments. So the CCC and the Shaw Center are a great asset to the community, and I've been helping with the Shaw Center with some homes that really needed some upgrades and some tree work too. But the problem is these developers come in and they see a tract of land. This is a very desirable place to live with the lakes and the mountains and the university with Dabonomics and the teams doing well, football team and all that. It's very tough to bring in affordable housing when you have developers come in and say, well, we're going to start at the mid-200s, and yet they don't. They start around 400,000. I mean, we as a PC approved one subdivision off Pendleton Road, and the developer said, well, we're going to be around the mid-200s. Well, no, when I started building it, it was at 380, and then now some of the homes are at 420 plus, and they're just stacked right next to each other. Also, there's been some studies about affordable housing with older hotels. But at the same time, though, it's difficult. How do you define affordable housing? Do you do it by square feet? Do you do it by beds? But there's ways to do it. It's very difficult here in Clemson because of what's been established the last 10 years, not just with developers and the area that's growing, but with the zoning too. And but like I said, I go back to the Shaw Center and the CCC, make sure they're fully funded, make sure we got the volunteers in place to help with people who are in need. But right now, it's going to be tough to get affordable housing here in Clemson because of the developers and what they do. I've been sitting on this planning commission here for the last 5 years, and I've never seen anything like it for subdivisions where you can have, we're going to build a home, starting price $180,000. No, we don't see it. I just don't see affordable housing here coming to Clemson. I really don't.
Thank you very much. Okay, our next question I'm going to kind of consolidate two because they're related, and we'll start back with you, Mr. White. It is, what is your position on banning books? Is this a function of the Pickens County Council? And moreover, how high a priority for you is funding the Pickens County Library System?
Well, banning books, I don't see where the county council has anything to do with education. That's what you have the school board for, and that's where you have the state school board too. So and the superintendent, I don't see where the county council can say yay or nay on banning books. Now, as far as the library system, it's a public library. Sure, it should be fully funded, but it should also be at the oversight of the school board as well.
Ms. Linville?
It was very distressing to read 2 weeks ago in Greenville County when the librarians were attacked for content that they had in their libraries. The county council did get involved because county council funds libraries and oversees the librarians. I do not want a county council that plays any role in book banning and censorship in that way. I believe that we hire librarians, we trust librarians and media specialists, and they should be allowed to do their jobs. County council needs to fund a library, not tell them what books to put in there. The libraries here helped raise my children. I was there all the time checking out books, going to all of their programs. We are a county that is incredibly socioeconomically diverse. We have multi-million-dollar houses that people come in only 7 days a year, and then at our richest elementary school, Clemson Elementary, we have 1 in 5 kids who go home with backpacks of food because they're food insecure. The libraries is a way that we can bridge a lot of those incredibly socioeconomic differences. Through COVID, it gave people internet that they didn't have in other ways. It gives a lot of kids access to science programs, arts programs that they wouldn't have otherwise. I will absolutely support a county budget that supports our libraries. Our libraries have been notoriously so well run. In fact, they were so well run that their budget was so attractive that some county council members considered going after them for having a surplus when in fact that money was set aside because they know that renovations are coming up. Going back to trusting libraries, trusting the library board that has been put in place to run them, and I will absolutely always be an advocate for our county libraries.
Thank you very much. And our next question, we'll start back with you, Ms. Linville. It is, you will represent the county government but are elected by the people of Clemson. There is a dual responsibility in that. Which responsibility is most important, or are they equally the same?
This is to me first?
Yes.
Y'all, Clemson is different, and I don't think there's a reason to try to say that we are not. We are different from the rest of this county for a lot of reasons. We have a major university here. We have people who move from all parts of the world to live here. I had the joy of running the International Festival at Clemson Elementary for 2 years, and we had tables of over 35 countries. We had a parade with over 100 kids dressed in their home native country costumes. That is exciting for small and rural South Carolina, y'all. Clemson is exciting. It is great to live here when we bring in people here, and that does make us different than Pickens County. So I would say that my job on county council is to be a voice for Clemson. And unfortunately, Clemson and the county have not gotten along historically. They sued each other, for example, not that long ago. Clemson has been seen as an outlier, and they've been left to kind of do their own thing. So what I would like to do is be both as much as I can, with Clemson as my number one. I understand that we are not always going to agree with everything that happens throughout the county, and that some of the county has different priorities than we have here in Clemson. And that is why we have a board. We have a county council as large as it is, so that everyone can speak up for their constituents. We absolutely need to have partnerships with other people in the county. If I go up speaking for only Clemson, we're not going to get anything done because there's only one of me, right? So we have to reach across and work together to get things. I'm excited to work with Easley on stuff like buses. I'm excited to work with Central on housing opportunities. So yes, I will work on behalf of the county because that's the only way we get things done. But my voice will be different because it will be Clemson's.
Mr. White?
So no doubt. I mean, if I'm elected, I'm serving Clemson. It is a dual responsibility, but I'd serve and listen to the needs of Clemson. We also need to have a county rep on the joint University City Advisory Board. That's how you rebuild really well. That's not how you rebuild. That's how you start to rebuild Town and Gown. It's been damaged last several years, but no doubt. I mean, you guys are my bosses. If I was elected, I listen to you all. That's public input. It's huge. It was key for planning commission. It's transparency, and also obviously I look out for the best interest of Clemson, but also as a county as a whole, and having that county rep on the JUCAB is key. It's a vital part to getting us all along, growing together, and pushing us forward into the future, because this is a growing area, and I'm not talking about 5 or 10 years. I'm talking about 20 plus years going into the future. So no doubt, the main responsibility as a county council rep is where you're from, what district you're in, and that's us, that's Clemson.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And we'll start back with you, Mr. White. In researching the issue you believe impacts Clemson, what will you do differently that may finally bring about positive change for the residents, businesses, and others invested in our community?
Back in 2019, we had many town halls, and I got a lot of input at Clemson Downs. And they felt like this town was only focused on growing and only focused on money. And they felt like Town and Gown, which was formed here in Clemson, is broken. They felt student encroachment into neighborhoods. I've experienced that for a number of years. So you can't just bash someone. You can't just bash the city council. You can't bash anybody. You got to figure out what the problem is and move forward. And then I go back to the JUCAB. That's a vital part of not just the city and this university, but the county rep too. All of us working together and figuring out what our needs are and how to move forward. Well, the rental housing program, it needs some stiffer accountability. There's so many times where someone calls about noise and nothing's really done. Or someone calls late night, there's cars parked in their yard they shouldn't be. So, and this is a college town. Of course, you're going to have those problems. But, rebuilding that relationship with the university, with the city, and having the county rep sitting on that, I can't stress that enough, how important it is.
All right, thank you. Ms.
What
Lindholm?
issue would most affect people's lives?
Well, in researching the issues you believe that impact Clemson, what would you do differently that may finally bring about positive change for the residents, businesses, and others invested in our community?
Okay. Again, I want to balance what is handled on the city level versus what is handled on the county level. And to me, the opportunities that I see on the county are about being able to tackle big questions through big partnerships. And I do honestly believe that if we can add and expand a public bus system through the county, that will impact Clemson greatly. And it's for a couple of different reasons. It alleviates traffic, which we've talked about being a major problem. It connects our more vulnerable neighbors to resources that they need. Right now, if you are having trouble paying your utility rent and you need to pay and you need to go talk to somebody about it, you need to find a ride to the Pickens Municipal Complex, which takes 30 minutes to get to from my house. There is no bus system that takes you to where all the county services are. That seems short-sighted. There have been buses. There was one year where a bus went to Easley and then went on to Greenville, and members could take it, citizens could take it, and they can't anymore because that stopped, because the university has changed the contract they have with buses twice. Now there's only a bus that goes to the nursing center, and you have to be a student to get on it. I've talked with several nonprofits in Easley that really need a bus that connects Clemson to Easley, and then once they're in Easley, there are people there who need to get to jobs. We have all seen the help wanted signs everywhere. One of the major reasons that people can't go to work is because they don't have a car. by adding bus systems that serve more of the county, that connect Clemson to Easley and Easley to Greenville. We are connecting people to jobs that they want and need. We are connecting our more vulnerable and needy citizens who don't have access to cars to the services that they need, all the county services. And frankly, I would love to take a bus to go see a show at the Peace Center and be able to take it when I came home. I don't need to be driving on 123 late at night if there's more access. I really think that we can start shifting the conversation away from constant cars and reliance into having a county that is more forward-thinking, less traffic, more environmentally friendly buses.
Thank you. All right, a member of our audience sees people crossing 93 to get to Walmart, and this seems very dangerous. What can be done to help the situation?
Oh. That's to me first?
Yes, I'm sorry.
I encourage that question to go to City Council and to go to the Planning Commission, because I believe there's a place you can put in request for where you want new sidewalks and where you want new crossings done. I wonder, yeah, I think when Walmart went in, when the neighborhood Walmart went in and they added the different traffic light over on the right, I did want to see a better crossing over in that corner. There is one, but it's not in the other side. So frankly, I would have to research, to be completely honest, I would need to research that to figure out who it is that puts those in. From my understanding, when I've requested a sidewalk or requested a stop sign, I start by messaging Chief Campos in Clemson, and then reaching out to a city council member who's usually pointed me in the right direction. That's not a road, that's a county road. By the way, there's only 3 county roads in the city of Clemson, and one of them is up for discussion. So I'm not sure that that's a road, but I would be happy to look into that and get the person the right information.
Mr. White?
So can you clarify that question? It's saying that the Walmart, the neighborhood Walmart?
This is I assume this is a neighborhood Walmart on 93. A member of our audience sees people crossing 93 to get to that store, and this seems dangerous. What can be done to help?
Okay, so Highway 93 is a state road, so you would have to go to the DOT, the district office in Greenville. It's easy to look up, just type it in, DOT, state roads, shows you a map. Traffic signals are not always the answer. Neither are roundabouts or stop signs and whatnot, but you got to do your traffic impact analysis report. You got to do your traffic studies. Back in 2018, when I got appointed to the Planning Commission, that's the first thing that I wanted to have done here is a regional traffic study. We're getting one, thanks to me. In 2020, I kept pushing this. City Council voted on that. Last year, I got appointed to Clemson Next. That's the first thing that we voted on February of 21 was a regional traffic study of 123, 93, 76. We've got to figure out what our level of service is, what our capacity is. That is a heavily traveled road now due to the developments of not just Cambridge Court, but all of the developments in Central. Also, the Walmart grocery, it's reasonably priced. I go there a lot. There's a lot of turn movement traffic coming out, and yes, there's a lot more pedestrians now. Not only do we need more street lighting on 93, you have it on one side, but you don't have it on the other. We do need a traffic light there. There's a lot of turn movements, a lot of people doing left turns. The UPS, when they're training, they don't tell you to do or minimize your left turns as much as possible. We don't want no traffic accidents. That's why their driving record is almost impeccable. Just give you an example, but the more left turns you have, the more accidents you're going to have. And there's too many curb cuts coming in with the the Collective now, and then you've got 3 access points with the Walmart. You need to close one of them off and make that the main funnel coming on to 93. And yes, the traffic signal with a LED lit and pavement crosswalk would be ideal. I've been preaching for that on not just on 93, but also on 123 here at the Verizon as well.
Okay, thank you very much. And we have 2 more questions from our audience. One is, we'll start again with you, Mr. White. How can Pickens County and Clemson make growth an opportunity rather than a risk?
Make roads an opportunity.
Make growth an opportunity rather than a risk.
Well, you got to manage that growth, and it hasn't been managed properly here in the last 10 years. We've been so focused on population. Now there's so many people now are seeing, traffic problems, traffic accidents. I don't think Clemson has an economic development growth issue. I mean, we're thriving. We're always going to be thriving, but how you can make it rather rather than a risk, is to, make our roads safer. Give us alternate means to travel without a car. The downtown corridor plan is a key asset to it. It needs to be restudied. But, making our roads safer, making our communities safer, limiting noise, limiting cut-through traffic, and adhering to what the community wants. Public input, it's key.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Linville.
How to make the city of Clemson growth?
No, how can Pickens County and Clemson make growth an opportunity rather than a risk or a liability? Let's say.
I've married into a family that's been here for 42 years, and I hear a lot of stories about how much Clemson has changed in that time. And I know many of y'all have lived here for a long time as well. And we can be nostalgic for the way Clemson has been, or we can be excited about what it is now. And I'm seeing a lot of exciting things that I love about living here. I love that how many more restaurants we have and how many more businesses we have. I love the energy that's coming in through the university. I choose to live in the city of Clemson because I like having this kind of growth and excitement and opportunity. To me, one way to prevent it being a risk is to make sure the growth is not just for some people. We need to, I won't have a say in city zoning. Again, county council does not control that. I would like to see some zoning that allows for duplexes and quadruplexes in certain areas so that we have a variety of housing prices so that the growth can happen without it pushing out too many residents. This is a small idea, but a small solution, but the Pickens County Council recently passed their comprehensive plan. And the comprehensive plan developed had a lot of instructions for what would happen in the northern part of the county. And they kind of they just said growth is going to happen down south. Growth will be in Clemson. And they just kind of left it at that. And they didn't put a lot of parameters into it. And one place that I red flagged immediately was 123. And the drive between Clemson and Easley on 123, as many of y'all know, is quick and easy right now. I would like to formally limit the number of curb cuts that will be allowed on 123 between Clemson and Easley before that becomes a problem. We know there's going to be growth, so let's limit curb cuts so that that remains a quick and safe highway, and so that we're prepared to take in more housing and more development without it becoming more of a traffic risk.
Very good. And starting again with you, Ms. Linville, our last question from the audience, and then we're going to move to some questions from the league again, is what do you see as the top two issues that you want to address if you're elected?
Yeah, top two, there's a lot to handle. Overall, I want to see a county council that is visionary and not reactionary. I have seen from this county council for years, there's a problem and they fix it. And that's been fine. We've had some problems fixed. I want a county council that will start tackling the big issues. And right now, what I see those as being is public transportation and affordable housing. I know those are big issues. I am not promising that I will solve them in 2 years or 4. But the conversation has to start. So I already have talked to several partners. I went to a great 10 at the top meeting on public transportation and learned about the amount of money that is available. The federal government is throwing money at rural counties like us because they want to expand public transportation. The opportunities are there, and I think one of the best ways to launch that would be hiring a grant writer on the county level who will bring in some of that federal money. I talked to the city of Central. They have some housing issues that they feel they could address if they could just get the grants written. So I think one of the quick things that I could do by bringing in a grant writer on the county level, we can start addressing public transportation, and we can start the conversations about affordable housing so that we are being proactive and visionary in what this county can do to make quality of life better.
Okay.
You asking for 2 issues, or do you want me to give you?
Well, the question is, what are the top 2 issues that you want to address if you're elected?
Protecting existing neighborhoods. I grew up just down the road here, and it was a nice, pleasant neighborhood, and then it's been just overrun with rental housing students, and it's been just not a well kept. We need a sidewalk. There's a sidewalk plan. I grew up in Cadillac Heights, basically, and a lot of those people, they want sidewalks. So protecting those existing neighborhoods, they were here first. Most of them pay taxes here. The students that come in here, they don't. They go to class, they trash their yard. The property managers, they don't keep up with the tenants, they don't cut the grass. And then also rebuilding the relationship. town and gown with JUCAB. That is key. It's transparency. That is key to success. It worked under Abernathy and Mr. Barker 10, 15, 20 years ago. Now it's broken, and if we don't get it back on track, we're not going to be able to move forward.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so we have gone through our audience-generated questions, and I'm going to turn back to, are there any more questions from the audience? Okay, I'm going to turn back to a couple of questions that were drafted by the league. Oh, we have, what, one more? We have one audience question. Okay, let's see, you finished, so we'll start back with you. Okay, buses are seen to run empty or nearly so. If planning calls for expanding bus transit routes to more distant locations, how could ridership be increased? And on what levels could funding grants be sought?
That's difficult. Funding grants right now are just for the e-buses, electric buses, which are from what I'm understanding and from what I've done some research on with Public Works and with Cat Bus too, that they don't have a torque to drive some of the routes here. And after a couple of years, they have to do one loop, and then they have to go back and charge. The city, the county cannot get a grant for diesel buses. Longevity, more torque. They do cost a little bit, but they have cleaner engines now. We're not talking about buses from 10 plus years ago, 20 years ago. I mean, I drive a diesel truck for what I do, and I have to put DEF in it. It works. It's very effective. I'm not a fan of battery-operated cars or buses, but the only way that the city can get a grant is to go through getting the e-bus, and they're not that effective now. And to be able to get the ridership down to about 18 minutes, 15 to 18 minutes, I think you need I think 6 more buses on some of these routes. And what's that? The cost for an e-bus is $700,000, maybe $500,000 to $700,000. I mean, that's several more $1 million in grant money that you're going to try to get. I'm sure you can get it, but still, after 8 years, that bus is done. 6 to 8 years, that's the lifespan. And then just after 2 years, I mean, they have to go back in and recharge after every loop. So, I don't see a way out of the grant opportunities for e-buses. We need to get back to diesel powered. Honestly, they are cleaner. They really are. They're efficient, and they have the more torque to climb some of our routes here in Clemson.
Okay, Ms. Little.
When I attended, well, let me start off. I did Leadership Clemson back in several years ago. And when we learned about Cat Bus, we learned the main reason the way that the funding comes in is based on the number of miles that the bus travels. So part of the reason it's hard to get a lot of funding for Cat Bus right now is because it does not service Easley or Greenville anymore in the way that it once did. So even though it might have dense ridership, it's in a small amount of areas. So by just adding a longer route, you can increase the amount of funding you do because it's calculated on the number of miles. And the rest of Clemson is so small. So there actually more opportunity opens up as we run more buses. At this 10 at the Top meeting, which if y'all aren't familiar with, is a group of the top 10 counties get together for leadership conversations on key issues. And I was at the one about public transportation, and ridership was brought up. That is a big deal. There has to be a shift in people to want to ride buses, even if they don't need to. And the main way that you address this is it's the last 2 minutes. It's, do I have to ride my car to this bus, and once I get there, how am I going to go somewhere else? And so that's some of the issues that they're really trying to tackle, and a lot of that can be handled with on-call vans that are run similar to an app like you would do Uber. If you don't have enough people for a route, can you have on-call vans that can serve people, that can go to the homes of some people who regularly need to be on a bus route? There's some really creative ways that technology is trying to solve this. There is a man named John Warner. You might have heard him on NPR. He is working with a group of people throughout Greenville, in which one of the major funders is GSP Airport, because they understand that you're going to drive 1 more hour to go to Charlotte or to go to Atlanta than to Greenville if it's not convenient. So they are very motivated to bring in buses. So back to this partnership issues, we get the buses, we get them moving, they get more funding from the federal government because we are a rural area. The more mileage they're doing, the more often they're running. The more often they're running, the more reliable they are, the more likely more people are to use them even if they don't need them. You bring in technology to help with the last 5 minutes. It's a big conversation, but it causes a shift over time.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to ask one more time if there are any more questions from the audience. This will be our last audience question.
It's going to be great.
Okay. Okay. All right, Ms. Lindell, name one city whose traffic was reduced by public transportation.
New York City.
Okay, name one city whose traffic was reduced by public transportation. Okay.
I do not have handy the numbers of New York City traffic. No, I'm sorry, I don't. No, but I lived in Washington, D.C. I took the metro on a regular basis. I could not have driven there. Everyone was on the metro of all sorts of different levels. Public transportation has the ability to change. It does take a while. It is not an immediate change, but if you don't build it, it won't ever change.
And Mr. White?
I lived in New York City for 6 months doing traffic data collection on the FDR Parkway, downtown, east up into Connecticut. And at times, I was like, I'm not hopping on a bus. I'm not going to hop on a subway. I'm going to take an Uber. And I had a rental car, and I got to where I was going. But, public transportation in a big city like that, yes, you got a city of 10 million plus people? Sure. Down here, do we really want to force people in buses? I think we need to give them a different alternative method to get around. Like with the downtown corridor plan, that's given students a safer alternative method to either bike or ride their moped or their little scooter or even walk to campus. I'm not in favor of just making everything about mass transportation and buses. I don't like forcing people in buses. I think you should give them an option, but let's not try to change the landscape where we have to take a bus everywhere.
Okay. All right, and so we'll start back with you, Mr. White. What recycling can the county do effectively right now, and how can the current county recycling problems be fixed?
Well, right now the county's making money off of scrap, aluminum, glass, and metal. Well, metal number 2, that would be precious metals, copper, ACRs, etc. So the county is pledging to do better with the recycling, get a better recycling manufacturing facility here in the county. It's going to take a little bit more money, I guess, grant money, but there is room to build a new facility. The county does want to start back up the recycling program. I think the city should restart the program with taking cardboard, newspapers, and aluminum cans and glass, because they can make money off of that. And then let's continue, because they are money makers, let's continue to find ways to recycle those items and give the county the time to get that $26 million that they got from COVID to appropriate it correctly for a new facility for recycling plastics.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Lindell?
From my understanding in speaking with city and council people about recycling is the main issue did not come from the county, it came from our buyers. The buyer for plastic, the market doesn't exist for plastics right now. So if the county can't sell them, then there's no reason to recycle them. You can still recycle plastics at the county facilities. They just only are taking 1s and 2s, and they have to be prepared differently. What happened is we are more likely to be rejected by the buyers if there's contamination in the plastic. So by taking that back to person instead of being at curbside in the city level, it increases the chances that it's properly sorted, clean, and prepared, which increases the chances of being able to sell it, but they can't sell it widely anymore. The county has assured all residents that they fully plan to increase recycling as soon as the buyers are back. So it's not coming from us, it's coming from needing to be profitable. That said, they did use American Rescue Plan funds recently to buy a baler. This is helping make our landfills more efficient. saw something about how it can crush a mattress into a small amount of space so that we are not taking up as much landfill space and able to transfer it better. So the county, from my understanding, is very motivated to keep recycling, to improve recycling. It's just that the market is off right now. And I think they're going to use this time, just like the city of Clemson is, to work on how to better prepare our recycling to make it more attractive for sales. But I encourage everyone, you can keep recycling. Thankfully in Clemson, we have Kite Hill as an option. We have the city waste facilities, and then we have out on Chastain Road for the county. So you can still do it. It takes a little extra work, but please don't abandon recycling right now while the county looks for a buyer.
Okay, all right, so our next question, and this segues into another environmental issue. We'll start with you, Ms. Linville. Should county council adopt measures to encourage retention of trees and retention of the tree canopy in the county? What do you suggest?
Yes, I would absolutely support that. The city of Clemson is a Tree City USA, which means that our trees are marked and labeled and recorded and supported. The county has participated in things like the Bradford Pear Bounty, where you can turn in or show proof of taking down your Bradford pear and get a free tree in return. The county's been a great partner with Clemson Extension on that. And however, I was listening to a lot of the public comments from the people who live along the Highway 11 corridor, and there's been some clear cutting up there that has affected water runoff and affected the watershed. So I hope that the Highway 11 corridor study includes some tree protections, which I believe Brad mentioned as well. And I think that the county should basically, this is a place where the county can learn from Clemson. We have an extraordinary horticulturalist here. We have incredible tree programs here in the city, and I think that that could pan out to different parts of the county and be a very valuable resource in a way that Clemson could be a good partner to the rest of the county. So yes, I would support that.
Thank you. Mr. White?
100%. You know, I mentioned the tree ordinance. That doesn't also protect the watershed. It protects our wildlife and our view shed as well. Even here, we got to be careful. Some of these trees are ancient. Like in the Calhoun district right here, they're over 100 years old. Could you imagine what that tree's seen? And they're beautiful. So a tree ordinance is one way to protect the canopy. And I mentioned that Highway 11 outside of Clemson as a rep here. Probably my main focus for the county is protecting Highway 11. It's so easily to get distracted, wanting the tourism and wanting the money, and you all of a sudden you're going to turn into a Pigeon Forge. You've got to be careful, and one way to do this is do a tree ordinance, and with zoning too. I mean, it's a key asset to protecting the tree canopy and the view shed and the wildlife too. Is a tree ordinance.
Okay, thank you very much. And Mr. White, we'll start back with you. Are 911 and 988 services adequate for the county right now?
I believe they are. Every time I tried to call 911 for my mother, I never had a problem getting a hold of someone. I just had a problem getting the EMS there. So I say with our population has grown significantly in the last 10 years, I think response times have been slowed down. So as far as using that call service, I've never had a problem.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Linville?
From when I was at National Night Out, the Sheriff's Department was there, and they had brochures designed entirely to try to convince someone to be a 911 communications specialist. They are having the same hiring problems that everybody else is. So our 911, I suspect, they wouldn't tell me this directly, but I suspect 911 is suffering slightly because of reduced staffing. So it's yet another issue where we're sitting and needing to hire someone for this position. I have seen the county announce that 988, which is the suicide hotline, is open. I have not seen information on that. I did read some national news stories about how some counties immediately were overwhelmed and not able to operate it fully. So that's something I would actually like to look into and make sure that we have the 988 resources in place. That's something I don't personally know. 911, as far as I know, is running, but is suffering from a staffing shortage that hopefully will be resolved.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. Okay, so our next question, we're going to start back with you, Ms. Linville, and that is, do vacancies on boards and commissions receive adequate publicity? If not, how could these vacancies receive more publicity?
This is a fantastic question. All of y'all care enough about your government that you're sitting here today, and I totally encourage you to sign up for one of these boards and commissions. It is a great way to have a say in your local government. I served on the Beautification Commission, but unfortunately, by the time I applied to the time I was seated was 6 months, because it took County Council that long to put it on their agenda to appoint new people. So something I would like to do on County Council is greatly speed up the rate in which they add people to these commissions, because if we have volunteers, let's get them. The county has tried very hard they've had social events, they've had come meet your commissions, come meet your councils, they've had food trucks, but all of that has been at the Pickens Municipal Complex, which is 30 minutes away. So we're back to this fact that our county seat is very far from where we are here. So no, I think Clemson residents are known for being involved and vocal, educated, and interested. I think we would make great representatives. There are some people in this room right now who I know are on some county boards, and I appreciate your service. I think there could be more of us, and I would encourage the county to do outreach down here in the southern part of the county and try to collect on some boards and commissions from people here. We also have some incredible expertise from the university. I was talking to a woman who's a retired environmental engineer, and I said, have you ever considered beautification committee? And she said, what's that? And I was like, you can help the county. I'm sorry, it's now Keep Pickens County Beautiful. We have a lot of great knowledge down here that I would like to see on those commissions. So I would encourage the county to recruit more here.
Mr. White?
Sure, I mean, this is a hotbed for people who have experience from all over the place. And I, as someone that served on the planning commission and still currently serving, this is year 5. I had 2 years I was a vice chair. I was appointed to Clemson Next, all volunteer roles, because I knew we need help here. And so many people can come together, and that's what we do. Planning commission, you come together, the public comes in here, we talk about it, we work it out. We're an advisory board to city council. We need to have more of a recruitment at the county level here in Clemson due to all of us. Next door blows up down here. Up in Pickens and Highway 11, next door is not heard of. Here, next door is very active. And I'm very happy to see that. And it's just because everybody cares. We're all, we all should come together. We're all equally the same, whether we're left or right. Okay, this is community issues. We all come together, and that's what these boards and commissions do. And I'd love to see more of us on county boards and commissions everywhere. So.
Thank you very much. Okay, so our next question, we'll go back to you, Ms. White. Is fire protection in the mountains adequate right now in the county?
Let's see. They spent close to $5 million on that fire at Table Rock about 4 or 5 years ago. It took them almost 45 days. It started in early November. It was contained December 10th. No, it was controlled. No, contained December 10th, controlled by the 16th. And they had, I can't remember how many, 300 and something volunteers at the county, state level, Forestry Commission, and the National Guard. No one was hurt, killed, and no structures were lost. So I'm judging by that experience. I don't think there's an issue, but there's always means to audit the funding, get better equipment, and training. Training is key. So.
All right, thank you, Ms. Linville.
One of the questions I asked the head of emergency services for Pickens County, Mr. Gibson, is if he felt that he was in need of any services, if county council needed to fund anything in his department. And he did talk about wanting to increase truck replacement, which I mentioned earlier. But other than that, he said that he felt that he'd had supportive counsel and that they had what they needed. Since I am not an expert on fire in the mountains, I'm going to defer to our head of emergency services, who says that he feels like he has what he needs to take care of what's there.
Okay. And let's see, one more question for you, Ms. Linville. Nationwide, the accuracy of elections is being attacked. Would you, as a county council member, learn what would you learn about the security of county elections?
Well, I got a personal case to learn about county elections when I worked as a poll manager in 2020. So I got to go through the entire training process. I got to meet some of the staff, and I was frankly amazed at the level of security that is involved in local elections. I had no idea how much was involved until I went through it myself. And it's almost baffling to me that people question it. Once you've seen the sausage get made, it's an incredible process. So from what I learned personally, it's impressive. I met Dr. Amy Sams, who is our new elections director. She was brought in after our previous elections director did his job so well that he got hired at the state level. So we have a involved and productive elections commission here. We just appointed 4 new members to the state elections board, or to the county elections board. They're appointed by the legislative representatives here. I'm optimistic that that board is going to help oversee this next election. I have no reason to question any of the security, and I encourage that if anybody sees questions or information about security issues in the elections, to contact Dr. Sams, clarify if it's true, and if it is not true, please do your part to squelch any misinformation or disinformation that you may see online or about our elections.
Thank you. And Mr. White?
State law requires random audits of our voting machines. And so I'm confident in the voting process here in Pickens County.
Okay, all right. And I think we're going to do one more before we have our concluding remarks. But our last question will go to you, Mr. White, and that is, should county tax bills be redesigned to show the amount of tax paid for categories such as recreation, libraries, school operation, et cetera?
Yes, absolutely. It's just transparency. When I was on the planning commission, I wanted to implement a transparency documents folder for the residents to be able to go to that tab and see what we're talking about and what's in the pipeline. And yes, when I get my tax bill, I want to see how it's itemized and where all the funds are being allocated to. So yes.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Linville?
I have trouble answering that immediately, because while I always would support transparency, I don't know the staffing requirements that would go into taking the time to itemize everybody's bills. If it's just a matter of, expanding the spreadsheet to print more on the sheets, then absolutely, there's no reason that you should be hiding what you spend, and I would support that transparency. If we're talking about significantly adding to staff in order to report that information, I would want to look further into what people gain from seeing, what percentage goes into roads versus what percentage goes into rec versus what percentage goes into library. I'm not sure that every citizen wants to see that. If they did, and it's an easy process though, then of course I would support transparency.
Okay, very good. All right, so it's now time for closing statements from each of you, and each of you will have 2 minutes to make this statement, and we'll just return to you, Ms. Linville, and you may make your closing statement.
It hasn't come up, but for my job professionally, I'm a marketing strategist and a writer. And what that means that it's my job is to research a problem or a situation, bring in all the people who are involved in it, help create a strategy for how to solve the problem, and then communicate it widely and transparently. That's what I do as a job. And I think that those skills would serve well on Pickens County Council. What I'm excited about in this job or in this position that could be, is to be a voice for Clemson, this place that I absolutely love, that I have chosen to raise a family here. I have kids in the schools. I'm married into a second-generation family. I love it here. I'm excited to be here. I want to be a voice for this place. But I also want to make sure that we are moving Pickens County forward, that we are not going back to a point where the city of Clemson and the county don't get along, that we are tackling some of the big issues that are going to make life better for everyone here. And I look forward to communicating that widely. I don't know how much y'all have heard of County Council and the work that they're doing. I will be a transparent and communicative servant. I use social media as well as writing professionally, and look forward to that as a way to make sure that everyone can follow what County Council is doing. I'll make myself available to hear the issues that are important to you. And I will vote the values that I feel like Clemson has. This includes helping each other, protecting the beauty of the area, connecting our communities, ensuring that Clemson remains a great place to live for all of us from all walks of life, from wherever we moved here from. This is a great place to live. I think the county is growing along with us, and we need to be a vibrant and vocal part of moving Pickens County forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. White?
I want to thank the League of Women Voters, and thank you all for coming out to this debate. It means a lot to me seeing that everyone's interested in these types of debates, even though they're small, but still we're a community and we all need to come together And if elected, I will bring a level of experience with roads, traffic, infrastructure that the county has not seen. There's currently, the 6 councilmen that are on there right now bring up 60 years of experience, but none of them are traffic. None of them are infrastructure, small business, budgets, knowing the area, being here and experiencing what our community is going through with the lack of involvement in leadership between the 2 towns, well, university and Clemson. So I just would, appreciate your vote. I'm a family man, and I always be that. I put family first, and this is my Clemson family, and I would put you all first too.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Oconee and Pickens County, I'd like to thank everyone for coming this evening, and also our 2 wonderful candidates. I'd also like to remind everyone that this is being live streamed on the City of Clemson YouTube channel and should be available in a recorded form probably within the next day or so. That would be my guess. So again, thank you so much, and good luck at the polls.
Thank you.